He fit in pretty well last time, but we're going to start things off with, wouldn't you know it, a good old Scion ban.
Yeah, get that Scion out of there. We heard Crepo talking about it a little bit after the series. That Scion has been seen from the support. Talia again banned out.
This is like their
against
thing
Splyce. Yeah. Oh, man. I honestly...
Are they trying to spell something? That's what I'm curious about. Because that's, I mean, those are the times when I ban those two champions. All right, Ryze and Vlad on the side of Splyce. It's a little bit more what we expect to see on the regular.
So, it means we've got a couple of champions that are likely to get through here. So, Shen is available, Bard is available. Surely it's going to be Bard here. Scion, Talia, Bard. Ban it away from Mickey, and there, in fact, it is. So, we're on for a first pick Shen for Cabo if he wants it. Will we see it get banned away? That also leaves junglers available. Elise up, Gragas up.
Yeah, nobody's touched the junglers this game, and this is going to allow Shook and Trashy have their pick of the litter. The last ban, of course, still 15 seconds away, so that could change just a little bit. In this case, it's going to be the Nidalee, so Shook will have to try to find something else. Maybe the Elise. I don't know if it's first pickable, though.
So this basically forces out the first pick Shen, or Splyce should pick that. But then we know Cabochard isn't exactly the most meta of players. We were speaking to him about some of what Parang was playing from Rocket in the post-show yesterday, in the post-game lobby. If you missed that, then I'm sure it'll be up on LoL eSports fairly soon.
Ooh, and this is what they've had. Not necessarily, though. They've had this banned away from Cabochard in recent weeks. I agree it's like a nice flex, but it's a good curveball here because Splyce don't really know what to make of it necessarily.
Ooh, the only problem is here, I think you can pick up enough on the other side. You can take the Shen away because you don't want that Shen-Olaf combo coming out. Other option, as we are seeing an Irelia hover, is I wouldn't really fancy picking the Irelia here with Shen still available. It's a very strange one. We were actually talking to Gilius yesterday about why Schalke didn't really high prioritize Shen, and he was talking about how, well, Irelia was banned, so we don't really need to pick or play the Shen. And I'm like, well, Shen's pretty good when it comes to his map presence, not just against Irelia.
I think might see that switched over. Here we go. So Splyce, last couple seconds still ticking down, and they're actually still trying to make their minds up, but I like the Caitlyn. I like the Karma. It has crawled up to the upper echelons of pick order, and it will be locked in this time. Could obviously be flexed to mid, but we do expect that to be towards the bottom side. Caitlyn, Karma lane. A lot of poke, a lot of damage.
So denying what would have been a pretty obvious Karma Shen 2-3 combo from Vitality coming out here, that would basically give their Olaf everything they needed. So I'm interested now. We've looked at the jungle matchup a little bit before the game. Now I want to turn my attention perhaps to the top lane, because Cabo and Wonder, both are top laners that we've seen pretty good stuff out from before, but Cabochard himself has actually been a little quiet recently. We've been seeing different picks out of him. We saw the Jarvan, we've seen the Kennen come through, but I've not been overly convinced with a lot of his performances.
Yeah, not everything has worked out. The times it actually has been on the likes of this Olaf. And we kind of, wondering, when does this start to, when do we start to see Cabo being able to step up and carry big time? It's still a question that has to be answered for a regular basis, but there have been a few scatter performances. Braum, Sivir locked in here. This is kind of the police special, Kasing, and we'll be taking a very, very good defensive laner. And, I kind of still like Sivir into Caitlyn, but it's still hard when you're dealing with just so much poke.
Yeah, exactly. It's just tough because you basically are conceding the fact that Caitlyn's going to be able to push you in, or at least harass you down, less so much on the push.
Quick
Sivir with the
lock-in
wave
from Splyce, by the way.
Yeah,
that's a Trundle Rek'Sai. I mean, the Rek'Sai makes a lot of sense. It's one of Trashy's most frequent choices. They did toy with the idea of the Gragas, which is another very good performing champion of his, but it just fits their style so well.
Thing is, with Nas still available up in that top lane, picking that Trundle this early on means you don't exactly have a guaranteed matchup for yourself. So Wonder's picking the only thing that really he wants to blind pick right now. I mean, it does zone away Vitality from going anything like Shen or any of the tanks. I don't really... Well, we're looking at whether Vitality want to lock the Olaf in the jungle or Olaf in the top lane for now. There are obvious changes that can be made. Looking for mid and top is the most likely in my mind, though.
Yeah. Yeah, they let the jungle go too long. Yeah, okay, it's actually going to be the Elise. But this is a definite Shook-style champion. They locked the Victor for Nuke Duck. I think they definitely take some comfort levels here, so Cabochard will have Olaf in the top.
And at this point, you've got to look at it, and Vitality are going to be able to bully around the Trundle in the early game, you would imagine. Vitality will want Well, I guess I wouldn't say they would want standard lanes because their bottom lane is going to end up in a tough scenario there. So this one for Vitality is a very weird one where they've kind of picked one winning and one losing lane for the beginning of the game. And they're like, well, let's just lane swap, see if we can get Olaf into the game another way.
And the Azir comes in as the last pickup for Sencux here. That's been a champion that's been very hotly contested, especially by some of the very strong mid laners here in Europe, but Sencux will get his hands on it here to deal with the Victor, which is a matchup that we're all too familiar with.
So it's a very straightforward setup for Splyce. They want the Trundle to be able to dominate out on the side lane, then the rest of your pack can kind of sit around in the middle. They can always push Trashy out to the side as well. That's the benefit of obviously having a Rek'Sai when you have a very static mid laner like an Azir. It allows you to play a 1-3-1 at times as long as your tunnels are in the right place. For the side of Vitality, though, wave clear out of everywhere. Plus, you've got an Olaf that if you can manage to get to somebody like a Caitlyn, is going to have a field day, actually just completely wailing on her with his axes.
Yeah, I feel like Splyce are going to have a hard time actually getting the siege going with how much wave clear that Vitality have brought. But those fights, those can get real explosive. Yamato, Sean, shaking hands, two coaches very seasoned here in Europe now. A lot of seasons under their belt just to make sure that they've been getting, you know, much more strategy, much more diversity for both these teams. I really like what Splyce have been bringing, and I'm hoping to see Vitality able to match it here today. If you think that's the case, if you think Vitality can knock out a win in game number 1, tweet us at LOL eSports, hashtag VIT win, hashtag SPY win if you think Splyce will be the victors here today. As both the teams in yellow loading up onto the Rift. We'll find out who does take the big victory. Will it be V for Vitality? Will Splyce have something else to say about it? We're about to find out. Let's load onto the Rift.
And as we load on Vitality, their team composition is pretty much try and get the flank in with the Olaf, get the TP play, and then look for an advantageous team fight. That's how they're looking to kick it off. Cocoons and a flank. We'll see if they can get it as this game goes further, but we've got a long way before Vitality can really get to that point. We'll see who comes out ahead in the early game.
Well, prophetic we could even think about for a long game because we have got everyone's favorite dragon spawning on the Rift first. Vitality, they've actually doubled up quite a lot here, and let's see if they can get the ward first. No, they can't, and they're not going to go for the deep invade, whereas Splyce were kind of holding the line.
Makes me sad. Cloud Drake first in a game like this, because we, I mean,
it chills the mood a bit for you.
I'm kind of assuming that we're going to end up seeing a lane swap here, just on the way the 2v2. I mean, Sivir Braum is realistically never going to be able to all-in Caitlyn Karma. Basically, good luck with that. As soon as Braum jumps forward, Karma puts her W back and onto the Braum. And you end up kind of winning the trade. And then Braum gets locked down, trap goes under him. Suddenly, Braum can't do anything. So you actually have very little all-in potential. So if this does end up in a 2v2, I do expect Cobby and Mickey to be able to take a lead out of the laning phase. Yeah,
Caitlyn is a very brutal laning champion altogether. And this means, though, that we get to see what Vitality will want to do with their jungler. Shook was very crucial to their one victory yesterday. And on a champion like Elise, it's something that he can definitely shine on. I mean, there's one thing, if you get fed, okay, yeah, you're going to do really well, but just being in the right place at the right time, and in a 2v2, that's just so critical. Kasing goes on a bit of a roam here to try and pop a couple of wards down. Maybe that's what they want to try and spot out Trashy, but he's not anywhere near there for the time being. So we do settle into the lanes.
Yeah, Kasing was looking to see if he could find the double jungle start and try and interrupt it up on the Wolves. And you could see that Sivir actually went over to help on the Krugs to get Elise through the early game. Now we end up in the standard lane. So that did leave Elise somewhat vulnerable for a moment or two. And you can see that Splyce have started to get a bit of an experience advantage. Zoning away in the bottom lane, you can tell by the amount of creeps that are left on the red side. Obviously, Splyce have absorbed more experience here. That gives Mickey the level 2 with Cobby. Vitality have to concede that, just give themselves some breathing room in the early game, but you can see how it's being impacted on the CS right now.
Yeah, big differential already to start things off, and you know, with the junglers being so critical in the standard lane scenario, all eyes are going to be on Shook to see if he can change the game a little bit here. Kasing and Police. Kasing is really low already. I mean, you've got Biscuits, but this is such a rough lane to take when you're taking all this free harass right now Police popping his spell shield just to try and make sure he doesn't take any extra damage erroneously. Nuke Duck, he's pushed in here as well versus Senkuk. Splyce are really on the offensive in these lanes.
Yeah, and this has been a really painful start to the laning phase for Police and Kasing, because normally when that wave pushes in, you want to be able to get every single one under the tower. The problem is, between Kasing taking a trade and Police kind of having to use a couple more autos on the wave than he would want to, it meant the CS wasn't in the right spot for him to actually take the last hits on him, loses a couple to the turret, and that, again, compounds this lead. Kobe up to 10 CS lead already is fairly significant here, and it's only going to get worse, but Shook, the meme is alive, Pyra. Look where he's going.
Straight up towards that top side. See if he can get Cabochard on a snowball as the blue buff happens. Flashing up in the top. Here we go. They're taking tower shots. Wonder, though, is trying to interrupt. Repel up for Elise.
Oh, he survives.
And Wonder is able to get away from this. Wow.
Good hold by Wonder under the turret that didn't even use his flash. Shook tanked up so much of that turret damage, and Cabo couldn't get the kill.
That pillar was so clutch to keep him alive right now. Wonder's got to be real happy with that.
Very rare you'd be able to see that hold there, and maybe that will sway some of the fans on Twitter.
I start seeing the bar fill up the opposite side.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, we got it. All right, we've convinced at least, I mean, I don't know how many people are voting, but we've convinced 1%. Okay,
Wonder making the 1%
relevant.
on his side.
All right, Kasing, very low. Teleport happened to be burned by Cabochard as he backed away. He'd also use the flash, and this time it's Wonder who's got jungle backup, but Trashy hanging around. This is definitely looking like a rough start for Vitality here. You already see them losing out on some of this gold.
Yeah, just a small note there as Cabo TP'd in on the cannon creep. It actually kind of forced Wonder to stick around a little longer. Had Trashy not been there was the possibility that it was a rough one for Splyce. Very minor thing, but Cabo just kind of making a nuisance of himself as Wonder was joining the lane again now. So, Wonder where? Or Wonder as he's now known. On this Trundle, we'll see whether he can hold the Olaf as this game goes longer and longer.
Well, we've seen what Trundles can do, especially in later stages of the game, but Cabochard definitely no slouch on this. Olaf flashes the axes, it's not going to be enough, and he moves for first blood. What a brutal 1v1.
Oh, Wonder teleports back into the lane. They both are in a situation where Wonder has to kind of respect. He's not got his level 6. He hasn't got that health coming back to him. Trashy wants to pick this one back up, but look, Cabo is already regenning health and has Ragnarok, so he's not going to get knocked up. Trashy's only level 4 here. He does have to still be careful of Cabo.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't want to take that fight. When Olaf is at low health, he can really start to do some damage. And Trashy's going to think better of it, just catch the wave instead. Man, Cabochard, okay. Yeah, he can step up and do some damage, that's for sure.
Wonder just not respecting the fact that he's playing against the Olaf, who has so much damage in this early game. And the lower he goes, the deceptive it is. And Wonder doesn't have his ult, can't really regen it back up for himself, and ends up dying 1 versus 1. That is not the kind of play we've come to expect.
And things are looking up for Vitality in more than just one lane right now. If you take a gander down on bottom side, Police is actually starting to match the farm with Kasing. After the back here, it's really not too bad. Let's take a look at this top lane fight again, though.
So let's have another look. Take a look at exactly, even with the minion assistance here on Cabochard, Wonder still loses out this. As Cabo's taking damage from 3-4 minions for the majority of this. Wonder just manages to dodge the axe, thinks he's got enough, but whew, just enough damage comes from those reckless swings and gets his health back. So to speak about that bottom lane, the reason is Kobe pushed out bot, recalls out, and that gave Police the time to farm back up. Now that Kobe had his time in lane when Police wasn't there, he reestablishes the lead for himself, and it's just this back and forth game of whoever recalls will be able to you know, either expand or contract the lead, and then it gets evened up after.
Yeah, that's actually pretty big now that Police is going to have to stick back under tower farming, so even though he's got a level advantage for the time being, it's not like On the Hunt solo is going to do a whole lot for him, especially with Mickey X hanging out there. And this is the power of not only the Caitlyn Karma bot lane, but how Kabi has been performing with Mickey as his support now. He's really stepped up and stepped into his own as an AD carry here in Europe.
And that's the thing with this Karma, the Caitlyn. Between traps, now you've got the Karma E as well. Plus, when they're grouped with Azir, there's a fair amount of fight avoidance that's coming out for Splyce, which allows Trashy to go to the side lane the later this game goes a little bit more frequently. We actually saw H2K running like Rek'Sai with Ryze and I believe it was Irelia in the previous game, and they kept sitting in the middle lane. That is not what Splyce really want to do here. They can afford to play on the third lane. It also wasn't what HUK wanted to do either. They were just forced into it after getting team fought on time and time again. We'll see if Vitality can pull the same thing and force Splyce to keep everybody mid.
I wonder, he's forced to stay under tower for now. Cabochard definitely playing with some confidence here as he waits around in the brush for things to come back his way. A lot of ward investment here up in this top side. Look at the number of pinks. Just okay, that's not all pinks. Never mind. Those are Rek'Sai tunnels. One pink. There's another pink around the backside of the Baron pit, but that's really not a whole lot right now. They're just trying to make sure they can stop invades in the jungle.
I was gonna say, man, they even got bot lane up there for all those pinks, Pyra.
Yeah.
Whew, that's a whole lot now.
That's what happens when you look at the minimap for like half a second and don't pay attention.
Gotta keep your eyes on the minimap all times. I think Faker was the one that was saying he looks at the minimap every 3 seconds, or maybe that was even too long. Probably Faker's got some ability of keeping one eye on the middle of the screen,
Very
one eye
place to look.
down on the minimap.
Cabo's still pushing up here, but you can see both the junglers have come to play now. Shook and Trashy, they're going to find each other. Level 6 is all around, and yeah, Prey Seeker coming out, but Wonder is a little bit low. They might try this dive again, but they know it's a 2v2. Oh, it's very dangerous. They did get the stun off. Subjugate is up. Shook is tanking tower, just one shot. Trashy's here for the defense.
This is what we call passive ganking, Pyra, where you don't actually do anything in the lane.
Something happens eventually, but meanwhile in the mid, Chaos Storm's on. Gravity Field was dodged. Senkuk's taking a lot of damage, but not having to blow any summoners. Heal still held. Flash still held. Nuke Duck does not have his ghost, of course, but nothing doing here. It's still a fairly even game, but I mean, the gold advantage is Vitality is just because of right now that first blood, pretty much.
Well, the thing is, the last 30 seconds kind of sums up how the beginning of this game is going to be, considering we're in standard lanes, we have a Cloud Drake, is everybody's going to try and make these little plays, but if the play isn't on, if you don't have the kill pressure in that scenario, you don't pull the trigger on it, which is the right way to play in that kind of scenario. There's no real guaranteed dive on the top side. The same with the middle lane is Nuke Duck, he's not got anything like Ignite, so kill pressure isn't there either. It's just trading a few abilities, back yourself away, look for a better opportunity later. And it's not exactly the most exciting of play, but what it is going to end up resulting in is Splyce are going to try and get a larger lead in the bottom lane, try and expand on that, and then convert that into their 1-3-1 setup as the game goes along.
The wild card in that whole equation, though, is Shook, because we know from his time in the LCS that he's a player that likes to play very aggressively, and he will take the dive, even if it maybe isn't the best idea at the time. And he could start to open things up if he gets enough, strings those plays together. Right now, he's only sitting on his completed jungle item, no boots, so he can't get around quite so fast.
And where he is getting around is completely warded, because Splyce are buying into it as well. 4 wards all in the top side, or 3 wards and a Rift Scuttler that have spotted Shook out the entire time he's been top here. So no real danger of anybody from Splyce getting picked off by Shook. So this has been a good set of vision control coming from Splyce in the early game. They've
all the pink wards, stress.
Yeah.
And all the normal wards as well.
Yeah, all those random pink wards that have been
yeah.
It's okay, Pyra. We all have those moments where it's like, is that really? And your eyes deceive you. That's why I normally wear glasses. I just cast blind
Rek'Sai
these
games
days.
mess me up, yeah. All right. Down on the bottom side, this pressure keeps continuing. Mickey and Kabi just chipping away at the tower. There's not a lot Police can do. He does get the Boomerang Blade to start clearing things away, but now Trashy, he's joined the party. Shook has come down towards this bottom side. Kasing takes a lot of damage. There it is on the hunt, hopping into the Glacial Fissure. Cabochard teleports around the back, and he takes down Mickey. Ragnarocking, chasing for more as Splyce had overextended their bounds. Wonder has canceled his TP, and that's going to be the end of that.
And despite the Braum ult hitting on Trashy, it was a good target selection to just go for the squishy support of Mickey. The damage was already done. On the hunt was able to be used to get that distance closed, get the first kill there. And I mean, Splyce, they were forced to cancel their TP on Wonder. They're not running TP out of the mid lane because they have an Azir, so there's no real way of evening that numbers advantage up when it's Vitality that are the team that are making the proactive play there. Yeah,
that was a great TP from Cabochard. Let's take a look at the start of the fight again. Kasing goes low, but then around the back.
Wonder has nowhere really to TP to. He can TP either onto the tunnel or onto the ward, but you can see the fight's already moved past, so by the time that selection is already made, he can't match Cabochard's timing, and Splyce are already on the back foot in that exchange. And yes, they had an advantage with how they were playing out the bottom lane, but now it kind of gets shifted the other way. It's Cabo that now has 2 kills.
Of shifts, Woo, Nuke Duck got out just in time. Quick flash on the fingers to avoid the Shurima shuffle. And so some few plays being made in the mid, but the junglers have been pretty absent from that side of the map for now. It's really been all about the top and then all about the bottom. They keep matching pace with each other, though. I really like this. The neutralizing point that Trashy, we talked about him earlier on. He wasn't really able to match pace for pace against Shook in that last fight, but to be fair, when Cabochard was there, it was kind of a number disadvantage.
But look now what Splyce having to react to. Vitality just put everybody top to get this tower. And what that means is Vitality's next move can be to secure through the top side. And because they got 4 people here, they can zone away Trashy and Wonder very effectively and get damage on this second tier tower. And what it does is forces Mickey to come back and gives Victor extra time in the middle lane. All it does is just push Splyce back. They know Cobby's never going to be able to push up too effectively. We'll have to recall after this wave. And then it kind of resets a lot of that control that Splyce are having on the bottom side of the map because all they did was trade the towers.
And this is going to give them even more power in that top lane. Cabochard already rocking the 2 kills. If he gets himself Rift Herald buff, the 4-1 is just going to be really hard for Wonder to deal with. And, you know, with the long lane, yeah, it's dangerous, but they've got a lot of vision here. They're able to play very safely. Vitality with a tempered aggression, get themselves a Rift Herald buff.
What we didn't really catch on was during the replay, I believe Wonder actually took the top tier tower,
yes,
tier 1 tower, so he already had kind of got that presence from the top side down, so it's just an even tower trade overall. Vitality, however, do have somewhat of the lead here. You can see it's about 800 gold, so First Blood plus the kills on top of that.
Yeah. Slight level advantage still for Wonder, but yeah, he hasn't been able to deal with this Olaf the last few minutes. We're approaching the 15-minute mark, and things look fairly even on the gold and fairly even on the towers, but Vitality are definitely the ones that are controlling the way this game, this mid-game is now going. Cabochard looks for Senkux, throws an axe, and that's going to be shifting sands to get him back under tower.
Too difficult to lock down in his ear right now. Of course, if you have Ragnarok popped before the ult comes out from his ear in that exchange, it's going to do nothing. It won't push him back, and it's only after the wall stands that Olaf can't move back through it.
Pushing him back. Sing is trying to be the hero here. He's dodging a lot, but I don't think you can stop the red buff forever.
Oh!
Oh! Cheeky, cheeky.
Trashy didn't have his smite at that point. Trashy couldn't get the buff. That's pretty embarrassing. That's
wow.
It was a good bluff play from Kasing because he was bluffing Shook was with him. So Splyce didn't want to engage on the support that's there on his own 1v3 picking up a red buff. So that's a little oopsie by Splyce, but at the same time, if you beat your chest loud and proud enough, even the smallest of members on Summoner's Rift can apparently take a red buff at that point.
Yeah, well, Braum is far from the smallest.
That's true.
But he doesn't have much damage. That was a real nice Winter's Bite. Man, okay, so Splyce on their side, trying to push out the waves and keep anything from crashing into those towers. There's still an outer on the mid, and Senkux is keen on keeping it alive for a while longer. The blue buff just yet to respawn. Kabi getting some vision control in this river. Dragon has obviously been abandoned because 15 movement speed is not considered the most important in this game. Out of combat, I should say.
No, although apparently effective enough to be in the upcoming Pokemon game, because there is like a cloud. Did you see that? Cloud Dragon is apparently in that, so you know, I guess it works for catching them all, but at this point you really don't want to catch multiple Cloud Drakes.
No, once you've got one, it's usually enough in my experience.
Just get Infernals. Get Infernals. Anyway, I mean, they may not be dragons, but Moltres was always cooler than Articuno. I guess.
Technically, you're wrong, actually.
Pun, not in the terrible, terrible pun.
I mean, it's irrelevant anyways because Zapdos was the best bird, but we'll end that debate there.
I, for one, am shocked you'd say that.
Let's let that breathe a minute. All right. Vitality. They get the vision back on their side, though, because Splyce weren't really keen on saving it now, and all of a sudden, out of the bushes comes death. Mickey knows the game is up, and Police grabs the kill. Kabi's going to have to net away, and Shook, when he pulls the trigger, he does not hold anything back. Quick kill picked up for Vitality, they're charging down the bottom lane.
Mickey just trying to take the quick route, trying to get back to lane as fast as possible through that, and it costs them again. Vitality now are going to look for a second tower from this. There's no real reaction coming out from Splyce.
They can't
on the opposite side. Senkux can't really go in on his own here.
He's spotted. He gets a little bit of damage on Cabochard, but there's nothing else they can do. Senkux, he hasn't really been a part of anything in this game apart from holding the mid lane. Well, he's had a few plays,
Well, I'm going to be fair to Senkux. He's on Azir. Holding mid right now is about all he can do. So you are right. You are right, Pyra. But a lot of the plays have been away from mid, and he hasn't been able to get with the team. Again, this is Mickey walking through a warded area to try and get as close to Kobbe as he can. Realistically, he should be pathing up and around if he was only looking to get back into lane. And finally, Cloud Drake is gone. It's out of here.
All right, bring on the Moltres. It's coming up in 6 minutes. That's going to be good. Baron will be spawning in about a minute and a half, but it'll be quite some time before either team feels confident about that. Setting up the vision is very important, though, when you've got a lot of these long lanes to deal with. We haven't seen these objectives traded, obviously, because nothing is safe on the map right now. Vitality, though, they're the ones who are still making the plays on the map. And when you're more proactive, when you're able to cleanly take fights, you can definitely get things done. They built themselves up 1,500 gold lead so far.
Only problem Splyce may end up having is fighting between Azir and Caitlyn. If they want to sit middle lane, it's always kind of a problem. But I don't think Trashy, as they maybe have caught Kasing.
He's unbreakable, though, for the time being. The net, or Cocoon, I should say, is not going to land. Mickey and Wonder do not want to tango, though, in a straight-up fight against Vitality. Trashy backing away, and the rest of Vitality are moving up top to try and make a power play on the tower.
Yeah, and Splyce have lost a lot of their vision control here. They've only really got some of the enemy jungle warded on the top side. Shook and the rest of Vitality have kind of invaded the enemy jungle here, taking control of it themselves. They can't hold it. It's a little too early for them to be able to maintain that kind of control. They don't have enough of a lead to do that. They got a good lead for now. It's a couple of thousand just about. A lot of that is on Cabo.
And that's why I don't back on a ward.
Yes, although Cabo being 2-0 is going to be one of the big boosts here because he's looking for that TP. We're about to hit that 20-minute mark, which opens up Cabo's opportunity to home guard TP in, hit that ghost, get himself onto somebody like a Caitlyn, and stop Splyce in their tracks.
Well, Vitality is definitely looking to see everything they can because they've been stocking up on pink boards, taking a look at those inventories. And you know, with items across the board on the other side, too, we got to start thinking about the power spikes for some of the Splyce members. Wonder with the Titanic Hydra has been doing work on the minion waves. Azir, Caitlyn obviously only on one item and some change apiece, but you know, they're working their way up. Yes, they need to start farming in the mid. Yes, they need to start farming in the sides, but they definitely need some time before they're comfortable taking straight up fights. Vitality, though, they're finding Splyce members in their own jungle.
Another item completed. Dead Man's Plate is the I'm going to run fast and hit you
really
once, and it's really going to hit you play style that Cabo Shard's looking for. Just looking to annihilate Kobbe as fast as he can in these fights. Because really, there's going to be no way of peeling against him. What are you going to do? Try and you know,
pretty much have to kill him.
Yeah,
like, the only way to peel off an Olaf in ult is to kill him.
Yes.
And the great thing about Olaf is he gets faster at attacking the lower he goes.
Or as we saw last week, trap him in between a trunk.
Yeah, that's the one way to do it. You can't be disabled, but you can be wall glitched.
Yeah, exactly. It's,
so a little unlucky there for that Olaf.
Tis the season for wall glitches. Speedrunning coming up on the next week.
Oh yeah.
Between that on one monitor and League on another.
You're gonna be pretty busy, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sit in front of my PC the entire week.
Well, yeah, and then you're already hyped on Pokemon, so I don't think we'll see much of you outside of the cast, I imagine. All right. So, Splyce have not invested in this vision down on bottom side. There's still plenty of time before the Infernal Drake shows up. Got several minutes on it. They've really moved it much towards the top side in the jungle, but that's matched right now by Vitality. So where the wards are at the moment is pretty much the same for everyone.
Yeah, it's one of those even games, honestly, when you look at it. The Vitality, okay, they took a lead to begin with, but Splyce have done a good job of kind of tucking in and not giving up too much more. Wonder has to be careful. He's not going to 1v1 down. But again, keep your eyes just on Ragnarok. As soon as, on Subjugate. As soon as that's popped, Cabo did have to just use, well, chose to use his Ghost at that point. So, bit of a good trade in Splyce's favor. Now that home guard Ghost play.
Run!
Oh, sure.
Oh, that's rough.
That's painful.
He didn't even clear the ward out.
Ouch. Come on, Shook.
Yeah. Well, this tower is now going to get fired down too. Real quick, look at that tactic they've got. But here we go. TP's flying. In comes Cabo Shard. Instant exhaust down. And he did not use the Ragnarok now. Wonder is caught between the rest of them. He will fall, but Shook is going to be the one getting the credit for that one. And Nuke gets taken out by the soldier of Senkux. 1-for-1, traded Splyce on the offensive, looking to push down this tower.
Yeah, they're going to keep pushing because here come the turrets. They still have the Emperor's Divide. It was not used. And Senkux is still going to be able to push people back or into the team if he can find the play perhaps, but he's way in the back line right there. And what happened in that fight is Cabochard couldn't actually close the distance on Cobby because Splyce were peeling down and away. It ends up the Nuke Duck dies on Senkux soldiers without actually being able to use his summoners on that when they are now available. They'll double check during the replay whether they were actually available for the fight or not, but certainly Senkux will be happy about picking up a kill there for himself.
Yeah. Justifying his pick a little bit more in that situation. Let's take a look at the fight once again. It all started up with the siege and the double TPs. And Nuke Duck did indeed have both of his summoners. Yeah,
Cobby managed to net down and get some extra distance after flashing. And as you said, Nuke Duck had his summoners.
He was walked through the gauntlet.
Could have flashed out, didn't. Didn't think he was going to die to that soldier.
That lost the tower.
Yeah, well, yeah. The health bars being low would already have lost the tower for Vitality. Because of the way that Caitlyn's going to play that pattern out is he's just going to put the traps down and there's no way of actually pushing up.
He's divided! And now Nuke Duck's got to pop both his summoners this time to try and get away, and the fun disc is on. Splyce in this mid lane starting to run the show.
And this is the problem now for Vitality. If they can't get that flank to work for them once, now they lose a lot of summoners, they lose a lot of ultimates that are available in that scenario, and they end up getting picked off there. Kasing just a little too far forward, and here comes the first important dragon of the game when you look at it. Splyce is going to pick it up. And a Zia and a Caitlyn with one Infernal to begin with, and what looks to be a second potentially on the way in 6 minutes, could be all that Splyce need. I mean, that's a lot of damage as this game gets later and later.
Yeah, Splyce really coming up big in this one. They might be down in the gold game, but it's not very significant. 3 towers to 3. Infernal Dragon giving them some late game padding. Vitality with the early game aggression that they had, the lead is kind of evaporating, and now they're losing ground in their own jungle here. Blue buffs, red buffs, Gromps, everything, it's going.
It's all gone.
Everything must go.
Point. Yeah, there's
jungle wholesale right now.
Not exactly the best deal for Vitality though. It's their stuff that's getting sold off and they're not getting any of the profit from it. So Splyce, again, they're going to step up the turret, be able to push back Vitality. They haven't really been utilizing multiple side lanes, but here comes Vitality looking for the fight.
They're going to have to be zoned off. They're zoned off of it here. Tower is real low, but Splyce have ran out of minions for now. They're going to have to try and come back.
But that's the kind of tower now that Wonder can come across to if they get the vision control down, if they get enough control on the top side, or they can just look to push up for themselves again and take it. Splyce has called Vitality's bluff there. They're like, hey, if we back away for about 5 seconds, maybe Vitality will recall out because they were kind of low.
It's a lovely strategy.
Splyce get themselves the tower. I like it.
All right, they're gone, guys. Now we got to run away. Yeah, good job. Splyce take up yet another tower, and you know this game has started to turn steadily in their favor. The gold game's still very close, but on the 25-minute mark, it's looking a little bit scary here. Vitality, though, they're going to pull the trigger, rush for the Baron. It's already down to 7,500. In comes Splyce. Trashy, can he take the smite fight? They're committing to it here. 3,000, 2,000. It's going low. In comes Trashy. He's taking the seal. Oh, that's going to turn things. He even flashes out, and Vitality get robbed. The fight is on. Senkux in the back. Oh, this is looking crazy. Police will manage to get the kill, but Splyce get out. 4 members. And they get the Baron. 1 for Baron is a trade that Splyce absolutely want. Great steal out from Trashy on the 50-50. Shook on Elise, who at that point, everybody talks about how good she should be. The combo Q smite at the same time. Trashy had a level advantage, but that realistically is a very small difference between 12 and 13. We will take another look when we see it, but man, Splyce coming up huge off of Baron Steel. Trashy, he's coming in from the side. They're not done yet. They're empowered off of that play for sure. Kasing might be unbreakable, but he's getting smited, having to flash away. Vitality on the back foot here, and Splyce leading the charge once again down the mid lane. It does not stop. It doesn't stop. Senkux is about to respawn as well. Splyce coming through from the bottom side jungle, looking for bottom tower now. And this has been very methodical from Splyce in the last couple of minutes. Cabo's going to have to back away. He cannot defend that on his own. And look at the wave that's already stacked up from Splyce. A few minutes ago was kind of pushed out ever so slowly. And now they're going to guide it in with the Baron up minions.
Yes, they've got a big wave on the top side. That'll get turned around eventually, but Splyce
going on.
going to continue to push.
I mean, if anything, they could send Cabochard up there to try and maybe trade it, but it's just nothing doing right now. Shook, Nuktuk, Ikasing, they've got to run away. They realize they can't get out of here, and Wonder even throws down the Manor Pillar just to deny them from getting involved in anything at all. And that tower, they're melting through it like a hot knife through butter.
Vitality have really struggled to get their composition working here. They've been trying to get the teleport plays, never being able to get onto Caitlyn, because Cabochard hasn't been all-inning at the same time, whether he's not had his Ghost available, not wanted to Ragnarok, that kind of thing, makes it very tough for Vitality, because the Olaf's never going to be near the Sivir at the beginning to get the full movement speed boost to get into the fight. It's only as Sivir closes the gap as well that he'll get the residual, you know, amount of movement speed, which was dropped off significantly a long time ago. It was one of the patches that people thought gutted Sivir, and that makes it so that Cabochard doesn't get this big boost in movement speed anymore. Just makes it too tough for him to get into the back lines without a good TP flank, and if Vitality can get it, this game still isn't over for them, but Splyce right now, they have a pretty strong Azir, they have a strong Caitlyn as well at the same time.
The Baron fight that started it all. I mean, you see the line here, but Trashy just goes right on under it, dodging everything.
Is it a knock-up on Shook? It wouldn't even matter at that point. 700?
No,
oh.
he arrives, he
Shook
smites.
just didn't smite at 800 health. Man, that's
also,
embarrassing.
Senkux didn't have to go in on this, by the way. They could have got out with 5.
Oh, okay. So I was saying about how one level advantage actually wouldn't be too different. That is right around the time where Shook's smite was not quite strong enough to take the Baron, looking at it. Level 13 smite is 760 damage. And beneath that, obviously we saw the Baron didn't go down that low before the smite came out, so it may very well have been that Trashy had an impeccable timed smite that moment before it drops down in the 760.
Well, talk about neutralizing junglers. Yeah, he came up big that time. Baron power play for him. It's been a very low kill game, but that doesn't mean there hasn't been some action. Next, Infernal Dragon coming up, 40 seconds. Splyce, they have the control of the map right now, and Vitality are playing catch-up.
Vitality are playing catch-up. It is only 1,400 gold lead right now. Infernal Drake coming up in 30 seconds. Vision control has dropped off significantly.
Yeah, when you're losing ground on the map, you can't exactly spend time to leisurely go through the jungle and put down pinks,
but
right?
even Splyce's vision control has dropped off. I can count the number of wards on one hand, pretty much. There's, yeah, I think 3. I am blind.
I mean,
though,
hold on
so
a second.
Give me the benefit of the doubt. We got more coming in.
2. There we go. 1. Oh!
Whew. It was almost like a countdown for Police losing half of his health.
Yeah, this Caitlyn's starting to come online for sure. Infernal Dragon started, Senkux, Kabi, Mickey, they're all here. Cabochard's around the back, but they can't stop it. And they've even got Wonder pushing in the top side. Vitality are running around like a bunch of headless chickens right now.
And Vitality really just cannot react to what Splyce are doing, because without the proper flank setup, it makes this composition very difficult. What they're relying on is either a Braum ultimate, a Q, or an Elise cocoon to actually start a fight. And this is one of the problems that, you know, as a broadcast crew, we've been talking about when it comes to a lot of these compositions that we're seeing with the likes of Olaf coming through and being very prominent, whether it's from the jungle, whether it's from the top lane, is if you don't have somebody that's going to be able to start a fight for you, it's very difficult to actually hold Splyce in position for long enough, because Splyce are going to play this kind of team fight out where they want to fight back for as long as they possibly can. And if you don't have something to hold them in place, Vitality can never really engage successfully without a flank.
Yeah, I mean, so they pretty much figured out the way to beat Cabochard's Olaf is to just kite away from it constantly so he never gets to that back line. Kabi has not been touched for quite a long time, actually, and he's starting to get really scary on this Caitlyn, sitting on the 3 items right now, working his way towards some armor penetration, the last Whisper now in his inventory. I mean, those headshots are really hurting.
Yeah, they are. And the reason he's gone Last Whisper as opposed to the flat damage that we've seen a couple of times, where you kind of go BT as a 4th item. I was trying to think of what the equivalent of tertiary was. Doesn't matter. A lot of armor on the other side. Got to try and get through that.
Yeah.
Doesn't really... he's not facing like a Swain, but he's facing an Olaf, so I wonder whether he's going to go Mortal Reminder, try and cut through some of that low health healing. Or whether he will go for the Lord Dominix. I don't really think that's too necessary because there's not a lot of health stacking on the other side. So a little bit more likely to go Mortal Reminder.
And you can see that because it's been turned into a skirmish, a fight game, like Shook has just not been able to have the same impact, and this is kind of the same thing we saw in Game 2 yesterday, where he just didn't get ahead enough early to make this big impact. Now, he's still been able to help them clean up fights and find a few kills here and there, but as the game goes on, you can see Trashy coming in and just making a much bigger statement for himself on the Splyce team.
I think it's a lot easier for Trashy to make a mark right now in this game specifically because Rek'Sai can have a little bit more team fight presence than Shook, and Shook may very well be the kind of, well, may very well make the kind of play that is one catch to end the game. If they get a catch, ends up in a Baron, that's the kind of thing you look and go, okay, well, Shook actually kind of won that team fight for him. But Trashy, all he's got to do is peel for anybody that isn't getting attacked by the Olaf. He'll just make sure that Caitlyn's okay. He can't stop Olaf. Nearly tunnels his way
I mean,
into danger.
Nukeduck pops the Ghost here to try and get a quick catch on Kabi, but Kabi got out of town real fast.
Wunder sitting in base, waiting to try and see if he can get a flank kick. Cabo's got himself a Banshees to try and deny some of the disengage, at least when his ult isn't running. But,
yeah. Well, and he got it popped though by the Azir soldiers for now. There's a lot of Vitality ward coverage invested on this Baron, and that should be where the game starts to turn for now, because it'll still be a lot of time before the dragons start to come up. But Splyce have been allowed to get a bit more back. Mickey takes some poke.
Kabi had to flash. That's the key one. He now cannot effectively get away from Olaf because Net is not a good enough disengage tool. So watch for the next team fight, because Cabo is going to get on Kabi, and Kabi will not really be able to defend himself. So he's going to have to rely on the heals, the shields, the exhaust from Mickey as well.
It goes that way. Yeah, he's going to have to stand behind, or stand in front rather.
Here
the rest of the team. The flank's coming around the side. Chaos Storm is there. Cabo the teleport. Do they have enough to fight this out? Police is down. Just like that. They might have to get out of here. And Splyce have managed to hold under Sundisk.
Miscommunication from Vitality perhaps, because the play was already being made by Cabochard to come in through the backside of the fight. The problem is the Sundisk provided enough area that was safe for Splyce that they can turn it back around. Police tries to go forward to even the fight up somewhat and try and get some damage down so the Cabo can come into the fight, but it just doesn't work. He took way too much damage from Senkux and Kabi and ends up falling. It gives the Baron over to Splyce.
Yeah, no contest available after that. Splyce falling further behind in this game after Police just chunked out by the Azir turrets. Senkux has come up very huge in these poke wars.
And now it's teleport advantage for Splyce with the Baron buff on top of it as well. And that's a real tough spot for Vitality to get themselves out of. They're going to have to rely on somehow this coordination all coming together, because that has been the big departure from pretty much every other team we've tried or seen try to run this composition. Is at least they've been on the same page when we've been seeing the Olaf trying to come in from a flank from the top lane. So, right, let's take another look at this. This was Kassin getting caught out. Here comes the Sundisk, and what that means is Vitality, they're already backing off as the TP starts. There's no way of Vitality closing up to Splyce, which means Cabochard just used everything for no return. That's a TP down. Now Splyce got the Baron buff. Wunder has TP advantage.
Things are looking better and better for this Splyce team now. Baron power play on. They keep Wunder up in the top side. He can get out of dodge if he needs to, leading the wave of minions to come crashing into the inhibitor turrets. There's really only one out of base turret left for Vitality, and it's the one down mid lane. That might change if Splyce decide they get Peckish to push a little bit further in, but the Baron is going to be up, or rather I should say the Dragon.
Look at Wunder.
He's still in the base. Okay, Cabo, they're trying for a desperate fight here. Let's see if they can get it. Mickey is knocked up. He's going low, but look at that regeneration they've got. And Senkux commanding all the soldiers. Just force Vitality away. Wunder teleported in, and now he's out, but Vitality, they managed to draw him away from base, but they look way too low to get anything here.
Yeah, I feel like Wunder actually could have pushed for more in that scenario without TPing, because Mickey was already out and the rest of Splyce were backing themselves away. This is Elder Dragon that has been sat there for now just about a minute or so. Now Splyce are going to try and push down. This has been a fairly slow-paced game, aside from a couple of fights and a Baron steal. Splyce have themselves the 2 Infernals, so if they can get Elder on top of that, I don't really see too many ways that Vitality can end up taking a fight.
Duck.
He's just waiting. There's nobody there.
Silent victory. Okay, he's going to back away now. I got excited. I thought he was going to get a face check.
Just hanging out.
Yeah, Splyce haven't been playing that way, though. Not this game. Certainly not this game. Splyce fairly ahead in this. The Elder Drake would not necessarily be the game ender for them, but it certainly is a big boost. They just don't need it right now. They're drawing Vitality all across the map and forcing them to dance to their beat as they herds in Baron empowered minions in it.
Ooh, Vitality are a little split, but they're not on full vision here. Splyce want to try and drag them down here. Trashy's already started out the Elder.
10,000.
The waves have been pushed back, so Vitality actually have a clear route up to the Elder Dragon. We'll see whether Shook can even the steal up.
He's gonna try. Oh, he doesn't get it. Flashing out. That is a swing and a miss for Shook. Splyce, though, with a big bonus here. The fight's gonna start. Nuke Duck, he keeps on regenning, but Wonder's not letting him go anywhere. Glacial Fissure popping up. Cabo Shard goes in and gets melted. The rest of Vitality are falling, and Splyce are coming up huge. Boom! Headshot! A quadra kill for Kabi, and that's gonna be GG.
Quadra kill into the game for Splyce. A somewhat straightforward fight as nobody shut down Kabi. Gives him the quadra kill. Great performance out from Splyce after perhaps a rough start to the game. Wonder took the 1v1 that maybe he shouldn't have, but it doesn't matter at the end of it. Splyce are going to shut this game out.
Yeah, after what you said was a little bit quiet, they turn up the heat. Vitality couldn't get on the beat, and 39 minutes in, Splyce will take game number 1 in style. I think we need another Yamato gift for that.
Oh, man. You know, I'm glad to see Kabi have a performance like that. A lot of his kills came at the end, I'll agree. He finished 5-0 on 1. 4 were in the quadra kill. That's how that works.
Thank you.
But
the math is not my strong
look,
suit.
last week I screwed up some maths. I was like, that's how maths works, but it actually wasn't. So I'm just trying to be on point with easy numbers games. But honestly, Kabi, I thought perhaps that moment where his flash was down, if Vitality had been able to engage, maybe that would have been it, but they could never get Cabo into the back of the fight.
Well, they finally did at the end, but he ran in and he just got gunned down instantly. Like, there was nothing that he could do at the very end. I mean, let's take a look, like, through the story of this game, though. I mean, it started with our first blood. We're going to roll that one out and take a look at how it went, because it looked pretty good for Vitality at the beginning.
Wonder's going to kick himself over this, because he thought this fight was all good for him because of the minions and the fact that he was like, hey, I just came back from base.
Yeah, he almost got the trade. I mean, look at how low Cabo Shard was with the Grasp of the Undying.
It's like one auto pretty much is the change there. I mean, Wonder's going to really kick himself after that, but it didn't really have too much of an effect. I thought Cabo was going to run away with this game because he TP'd.
He's done it before. Like, that's the thing. We've seen Cabo do this on champions like Olaf, but I feel like a play that really sums up the game a little bit more is that Baron steal that happened a little bit later on when, you know, Vitality were in the lead, they were running things, and they didn't account for the surprise underground Trashy.
Surprise, Trashy with the slight level advantage. Where does it actually get to? 780. Oh, man, that's painful. Like, about 20 damage short, I believe, for Shook on that smite, give or take a few. But man, Vitality, they thought, so the reason they were on Baron there was they were thinking, well, Splyce was just recalled and we can easily rush this down, surely. And they